Thanks for staying on. We're back with you with elections just around the corner. We take a look at the Good Party and about their hopes and plans ahead of the elections following the announcement of their manifesto and revealing their 8 mayoral candidates. But also, the leader of the Good Party doubles up as the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. And she, of course, promised tonight that she will talk to us about some of those issues there that are coming from there. You can be a part of this conversation tonight by sending us your questions, 072-110-5584, or you can tweet us at Newzroom 405. Joining us now, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure and leader of the Good Party, Patricia De Lille. Minister, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight here on In Focus. Let's take you back to the May meeting in Parliament on the issues that are being raised very quickly in the Department of Public Works that would need to be addressed quite sharply. One of the issues which I would have expected, Minister, that you would have been on top of it by now is the question of project management. It seems again, monitoring and evaluating of the projects when they are finished and whether or not they delivered on the goods that you had expected is still pretty much a challenge for the Department of Public Works. As a consequence, sometimes you're spending too much and getting very little value, as highlighted by the Auditor General.
Yes, certainly, Thabo, I agree with you. We have arrived at a situation whereby we have got many unfinished projects, many projects over budget, over time. The money finished, but the contractors got no money to finish the project anymore. So it is a mess, really. But we are trying to clean up the system and catch up by changing the way we deal with infrastructure projects. So the first thing I've done was to put in consequence management and contract management. And also to make sure that all contracts more than 2 million, we have now got a panel of people that do due diligence to make sure that we follow the letter of the law. But it is a process, and we have, in terms of consequence management, started disciplining many people. But, you know, people have got rights, and we have to respect that. But we have now finally decided that we need to cut our cloth according to our size. When the various regions and the various branches within the department, where they take on too many projects that they know they will not be able to finish in a financial year. Just this current financial year, they've submitted over 2,000 projects, infrastructure projects to be finished in 12 months. Yeah. I cut it down to 205 and said, you will be able to finish 205, let's do it. But we have to continue with this, Thabo. It's a long-term process, but I'm sure that we will finally get there one day.
Part of the challenge is not the fact that your work management system is not in place, at least the one that you're supposed to have on the Archibus, which you've spent millions on. 6 years later, it's still not in there, Minister. What is the challenge? What are the timelines for implementation, and why is it not in place?
I don't want to hear that name, Archibus. So far, we've spent 258 million for the past 5 years, even 7 years. The project was supposed to have been finalized. It is still not finalized. We have completed 8 modules because this Archibus come in modules. But having completed the 8 modules, we've only activated 3 of them. And so it is to the convenience of the people who want to be corrupt and people who want to steal not to complete the system. Because it's easier to steal a title deed and a file, a pink file or a brown file with a title deed in it, than to steal something off an immovable asset register that is digital. There is a complete resistance against digitizing the immovable asset register. We've got a solution, Thabo, and the solution is this. I've approached the Director General of Finance in Treasury, and I said, please, can you assist us to draw up proper specifications, not this Archibus. Archibus contract expired already in 2018, but still it's 2021, we want to use it. And I must thank National Treasury for giving us the support, and they have finally drafted some specifications that we can go to the market. They can finally digitize our immovable asset register. So there is also some good news.
That's the next part that I was going to come to, that your immovable asset register is not looking good. In fact, it was not completed when you were submitting to the lawmakers in May. What are the challenges there?
Yes. Well, we are going to the market now to test the market and see what systems are in place to digitize our immovable asset register. But remember, Thabo, this is also just properties that is in the custodianship of national government. You also have got lots of properties that are in the custodianship of provincial governments and also of local government and state-owned entities. And my plea has been that we have to put all of the land parcels that we have to put them on the table so that we can speed up land reform. National government ownership and custodian is not enough. And therefore, I'm working with the provinces, with the municipalities, and say to them, guys, we have to put all land together. So while we're sorting out the national immovable asset register, we also have asset registers at provincial level and at municipal level. The municipalities have got a lot of well-located land, but what they normally do, they sell that off to developers. And then they turn to national government for land to build housing. And normally it is land that is outside of the cities, outside of the towns. It is not well-located land. We need to use public land for public good. And that is the program that I'm pushing now in all the cities, in all the towns, to bring our people closer to well-located land and closer to opportunities. Our people have been forcibly removed by the apartheid regime, by Group Areas Act, and still we've not been able to integrate our cities and deal with the spatial injustices of the past. And I can tell you, in the sixth administration, government has got a plan how to integrate our cities, how to bring people closer to work opportunities so that they don't have to spend more than 40% of their income on transport.
These are key strategic areas that require a DG, one would say, to be in place, and a DDG to be on a permanent basis. Last year reporting on acting DGs and DDGs. When are you finalizing those appointments?
Yes, I agree with you that in the department that I inherited in 2019, we have got 13 senior management, people in senior management that is being appointed without the necessary qualifications. The cases before the Labour Court since 2019, the previous minister, Nesi, took it to the Labour Court. We still don't have a date as to when the case is going to be heard. So in terms of the Director General, the Director General was suspended and is still on suspension for allegations around the funerals of Mama Winnie, Dr. Skawia, and many other high-profile people. He's also on suspension for Beybridge and another one for the events. But when it comes to the disciplinary cases for Director Generals, that is dealt with by the President himself, and currently it is with the Presidency, and the Presidency has engaged the services of a labor lawyer firm, and they are currently busy with it. Within the department, there's been a slow process in appointing full-time deputy director generals. And we are making progress there. We have now taken to cabinet at least 3 deputy director generals for cabinet's consideration and approval. So it is a process, but after 2.5 years, we are without a director general. We've got an acting director general, and it makes it quite difficult, to drive the programs and the performance. I signed a performance agreement with the president, and I'm measured on a monthly basis. And so if you don't have the necessary capacity and skill within the department, it makes it quite difficult to achieve those targets.
That's why I wanted to ask, because one of the key performance areas for DGs and DDGs, you said, would include a clean audit. So if they are not permanent there, how are you going to implement that particular aspect of monitoring and evaluation?
Well, you know what? I must say, within the civil service, there are some very good people, very good skilled people. There are good people, but there are also some who certainly are resistant to the programs and the change that government want to introduce. And that is where one of the 7 key priorities of government is to build an ethical state and a capable state. We really are working hard to build the capability and the capacity of the state, because over the years, the wrong people have been appointed in the wrong positions. And I see within the 6th administration, there are clear time frames and targets how to deal with building a capable state. The previous minister of the Department of Public Service and Administration, Minister Kunu, has, through the governance School of Governance, built some courses. We've all gone through those courses, and there's really an attempt to build the capability of the state.
You yourself have established a policy library, and you're saying, okay, we're going to take you into a library so that you can relearn these policies and understand the policy environment in which you work. But the criticism is that you're not really saying exactly what are you going to do to those who have now gone through the process of learning and they are still not following the policies.
Yeah, you know what? It is just ill discipline. And it's like any family home where you've got ill discipline, you cannot succeed. So that's ill discipline, and that, many people are resistant to government policies. They are resistant to implementing government policies. And it really put us as the executive authority on the back foot, and you have to continuously fight. But, I have now said to my department, look, I know that many of the permanent staff within the department, they will see the minister as a 5-year temporary inconvenience. Because after 5 years, the minister might not be there, and they are permanent in the system. And that's why the efforts by DPSA to build a capable state and an ethical state is so important, because that is going to be the savior of our country.
Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure and leader of the Good Party, Patricia De Lille, stays on. When we continue next, we'll take some of your questions for the minister and talk to her then about the EPWP program. How do we make that functional? And wrap up the conversation with, of course, issues around collecting from her client departments the fees that are required for her department and what the challenges are there. Minister of Public Works with us. You can send your questions 072-110-5584. You can tweet us at Newzroom405. We're back in a moment. Right, back with you tonight on In Focus. Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure and leader of the Good Party, Patricia De Lille, with us today, addressing some of the challenges within the department, and we'll get into the broader local government elections conversation in just a moment. So, Minister, one of the issues raised in Parliament with you very sharply is the fact that lots of money is being spent on the EPWP program, but it's still not functioning as it should. One of the examples cited, for example, is that your reporting system for these projects is in shambles. At least the data is not captured by the individuals who should be capturing that particular data. How are we fixing that?
Yes, Tabo. Every financial year, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure received 2.3 billion rand from National Treasury for the Extended Public Works Program. Our role then is to disburse that money to the provincial governments, to metro governments, to municipalities, and to non-state sector NPOs to implement the EPWP programs. And that is where the problem comes in, that we have to account to the Auditor General about how other departments, provincial governments, municipalities spend the EPWP money. And the broken system has been that there was not proper systems in place in public works to monitor and to evaluate the spend of EPWP money. Every single year, the Auditor General will have a finding on EPWP. In 2019, the Auditor General made a finding that two provinces, KZN and Free State, did not even spend the money on EPWP. So we are working closely with our Auditor General now to put the systems in place to make sure that accountability is there from the people who are spending the money. So I will agree with you that a lot of more work needs to be done. We are going for another audit finding this year. During the COVID-19, we were asked to recruit 25,000 EPWP workers for the Department of Health. The Auditor General just did a spot check, and the Auditor General found that in some areas, the workers that were on the books were not there, or some workers have not been paid in some instances. It was just a mess. So there's going to be an audit finding again on EPWP, and what we need to find is a protocol agreement that I've now signed with the provinces and with the municipalities, that they will now help and we will work together to have a proper accounting system in place so that we know that the money is spent correctly. The money that the EPWP is spending on the non-profit sector, the NGO sector, that money, about 707 million rand, is given to the Independent Development Trust. Another problem. The Independent Development Trust then takes a management fee of about 11 million or sometimes more. The NGOs also takes a management fee to supervise the rollout of EPWP. So currently, we are now have a draft EPWP policy that we will consult with NETLAC, and we have done some consultations, but we're going to change the whole system around because we need to remove the middleman in between paying the actual beneficiaries. Because remember, the EPWP right now, they are not paying the minimum wage. And I am now pushing to say that even EPWP must pay the minimum wage of 3,500 rand per month, so that we then at least have people that get a decent income, but also they also get skilled up while they are doing the EPWP work. Municipalities are not great either. They use the EPWP workers to do cleaning, to clean the streets and to deal with waste and all of that, when they are supposed to be getting money out of their own budget to pay for that service in their communities, but they use EPWP workers to do the work for the communities. So it's a process of transformation that we are working with Tabu. And I can tell you that hopefully by the end of this year, we will have a new policy that will change the face of EPWP. The intentions are good. It's a poverty alleviation strategy to help people to get an income. And so we must get it right.
One other entity of the department that has seen a huge amount of irregular expenditure, in fact, that has been flagged, in fact, it's always flagged by the Auditor General, is your property management trading entities. That's like a hive of corruption going on there. What is going on? Including the fact that you're not collecting management fees from your client departments. When you came in, I remember you said that's the first area you're going to go for. You will lock up those offices. They won't get the keys. They won't get access to the offices if they're not going to pay you. It seems you have cooled down a little bit from that.
No. I've not certainly, Thabo. What we have done is, under the leadership of the Deputy President, David Mabuza, has established an interministerial committee to look exactly at, Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. We will pay the rates, water and utility bills of all the government departments, and then they then need to refund us. But we are currently sitting with a 3.2 billion rand overdraft, where we are not recovering the money from the various departments. And the Deputy President has stepped in, and we are working together. And there are great improvements there, especially from the users like correctional services, the police, and all of that. But let me come to the property management trading entity. You are right. The biggest problem there is that the leases of government buildings. That's where the most corruption is taking place. Currently, the Auditor General had a finding against us where in 12 companies we have overpaid. We've paid more than the market-related prices. So there's now an audit finding against us. But what you find with leases is that the government spent 4.2 billion rand and leasing in. So we rent from the private sector and government pay 4.2 billion. Out of our own buildings of government that we rent out, we get in about 60 million rand per year. And that's the discrepancy that we are fixing now. Now, this 4.2 billion is spent on about 10 companies. 90% of the 4.2 billion is only 10 companies. And where we are being overcharged, we way above market-related prices. National Treasury has come to the help of the department with a circular 48, and said, let's renegotiate all of these leases where government are overpaying at the moment, and let's recover some of the money. So that process is ongoing. But out of desperation to stop the corruption, I then put in an advert in all the Sunday newspapers, Sunday Independent, Sunday Times, City Press, and I made an appeal to all the people who are waiting for their leases to be renewed, because that's where the corruption comes in. They will not renew your lease unless you put something under the table. And since I put that advert in the newspaper, I had great success with many companies coming forward, because I said to the companies, I will not charge you a fee. Just write to me and say you're waiting for your lease to be renewed. And there's also a success story there where we've been able to reduce the number of month-to-month leases, because a month-to-month lease, in terms of the Auditor General, is irregular. You must have a full lease, either for 9 years or 11 months or for 5 years, whatever the case may be. So on the leases, we also have introduced some consequence management, and we are doing some contract management there. And I think in the next 18 months or so, we will be able to have dealt with the backlog and fixing all of these overpayments and the audit finding against us to make sure that the leases finally, it's a legal lease and there's no bribing for people charged. People are being charged to renew their own leases.
We continue next with the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, leader of the Good Party. We tackle now the Good Party manifesto. She says economic justice. Government cannot create jobs. Probably not the correct thing to say for local government elections if you want people to vote for you, but we'll understand a little bit more why the Good Party is saying so. Stay with us. In Focus continues in a moment. Welcome back. Let's continue now with the leader of the Good Party, Minister for Public Work and Infrastructure, Patricia De Lille, on the party's manifesto this after unveiling the mayoral candidates for the party, including the conversation you had with Peter De Lille. What experience does he have in governance? Minister?
Is that question to me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry. I thought, it's just an introduction. Well, Tabu, we've been working with Peter De Lille for the past year. And the way we've worked with him was to say that we need to find programs to get our young people off the streets and mobilize and get them into sports. Can you help? And he's doing very, very good programs in the community to bring youth off the street and to get them into sports. But he is a leader in his own right. He has been a leader and leading and the first black coach of the Springbok team in our country and in our history. We've never had one after him. So his skills that he's got of management, of leadership, of guidance, especially to young people, and the respect that he's got in the communities. So I think that, anybody else, if the heart is in the right place, you can learn in government, because you have to be in government to learn how government is working. And we will be giving him all the necessary support to contest the elections to become the mayor of Drakenstein, but also thereafter we will continue to train him and help him. But I can tell you, he's got it already. Yeah. He knows what leadership means, not only in sports, but within our communities.
Coming to the political space, I remember you very clearly having your gloves on, saying you're ready to go into battle. Is he that ready? Because, look, being a rugby coach and the politics of rugby is one thing, but when you come into the politics of local government, you're dealing with other parties, and a party, I suppose, that also has been in power for 2-3 decades now, that is called the African National Congress. Is he up for that task?
Well, you know what? I believe that everybody has got the will and that he's got the commitment that he can do it. And we will give him that chance to prove himself. We have got many, many good people in South Africa. Yes, there are a few bad ones. And what we are trying to do is to mobilize all the good people to come together in our country. Because they say if good people do nothing, that's when evil prosper. And certainly Coach De Lille, he's got his job cut out for him, but I have confidence in him that he will be able to lead his community, that he's done already. It's nothing new for him. Politics is all about life. Where you live, what you eat, what you drink, where you go to school, it's all about politics. And he grew up in that era where we were deprived of many things. He came from a very poor family himself too. So I think let's give him a chance. I'm sure he's going to perform.
Economic justice, one of the key areas, one would say, for young people if we are to get them excited about participating in this democratic process. In fact, many of them quite discontent with democracy because of the poor delivery of the economy in those who have been in power. Now you say, we're not going to promise you jobs. I suppose that's true, but maybe not the correct thing to be saying to young people who are saying, all we are thinking about right now is jobs, 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 and more jobs. Do you think that would be a good strategy for you?
I've been been saying this for years, and I'm not going to change it because we must never lie to our people. The role of government in any society and the responsibility of government is to create the environment conducive for the private sector to create jobs. So what does government do? Government must invest in infrastructure. We must lead by investing in infrastructure. Government must lead by maintenance and repairs of existing infrastructure. So then the private sector can come in and create jobs in that environment with good economic roads, with a transport system that is working, water, electricity is available. That's government's role to provide those services. And then, once government lead by investing in infrastructure, you then will have the crowding in effect by the private sector, and that will create jobs. You know, every elections we come up and we say we're going to create jobs. Government create jobs within government. Government create jobs with the EPWP. Government create jobs with the public employment program. But there are also jobs that need to be created by the private sector. And that's why you need to have the partnership between the public sector and the private sector to create jobs in our country. The private sector must also come to the table. The private sector and the public sector, we must be proud of our country, and we must come together and say, how do we rebuild our country and our economy? That is what Germany did after the Second World War. We need that same kind of patriotism now, where the private sector also come forward. And I'm working now very closely with the private sector. And I can tell you exactly where the private sector is also putting in their own money in infrastructure investment. So that is going to be the ultimate solution for our country, that the public sector and the private sector must work together.
Are they making any donations to your party, which you did not declare?
Thabo, I can assure you, if we get anything more than 100,000, we will declare it. We want to see openness and transparency in government, and we respect the choice of the private sector to give donations to whoever they choose to. We rely on donations from our own members. Our members have been working for the past year already, because we have decided that we need to prepare our systems to participate in the local government elections. And then we started participating in by-elections. And that led to us winning one ward in George, for instance. So our members have been working, and you know what, I love it. The kind of ideas that they come up with collecting money from each branch. We gave people about more than a year ago a target of about 30,000 rand per branch. And I must say, because people want to serve, they have collected some money. We did receive donations that's below 100,000, and we're keeping a record of that to send to the IEC.
Special Justice, how do you plan to reverse the legacy of apartheid without releasing, I suppose, huge parcels of land to people? Because that's all people are focusing on. I know you're also looking at the expropriation bill as the minister, because it sits in your portfolio.
You know, Thabo, spatial justice is so close to my heart. The apartheid spatial planning has led to a very divided society, putting us into boxes of color, colored, Indian, black, white, and putting people of color far away from opportunities. People of color today spend more than 40% of their income just to travel to work on a daily basis. And that has also got an impact on the social fabric of the society, because if you get home at 8 o'clock and leave 5 o'clock in the morning, there's hardly any family time. But I think one failure that we must admit to is that after 27 years of democracy, it's really indictment on us that we continue with the urban sprawl by building these RDP houses far away from the cities. And so while we have got well-located lands in cities and in towns, so we are perpetuating the apartheid spatial planning. And my passion is that, and I will fight for it until the day you put me 6 foot 6 inches down the ground, that we need to integrate our cities and our towns. And I've started that process, and I know that it can be done. When I was the mayor of the city of Cape Town, I released 12 parcels of land within 5 kilometers radius of the city, right in the city center. No, that wasn't good enough, because those people, the conservative, who still believe that apartheid was the best, who still want to keep people of color out of the cities, our people have been forcibly removed, the Group Areas Act. And where are our people today? They want to come back to where they have lived before. And so I believe that state-owned land, not just any state-owned land, because we've got lots of state-owned land, but state-owned land in well-located areas. State-owned land owned by state-owned enterprises must be released so that we bring our people closer to cities. So spatial injustice, we have to fight for spatial justice. And you know, we can't delay that project anymore, because the way the old apartheid systems and towns were built, even now when you travel across the country, there's no attempt, because we built housing on the periphery, cheap land. But I must say there are also some good news. Just during this week, I visited a project just in Mayoral here in Cape Town, the first of its kind. This project has taken a piece of land that's close by a railway station, close by the My City bus, walking distance of working opportunities, and they are building over 1,400 housing opportunities. So it is happening, but it's just happening too slow. And it's good. What we want to do is that, especially in the city of Cape Town, we've got unfinished business. The unfinished business in the city of Cape Town is that I want to make sure that those 12 pieces of land that we've released in 2009, 2008, 2016, 2018, we must build them. And so, you know, now everybody's running around for votes, promising people all kinds of things. Let's finish what we have started. So spatial justice is very close to my heart. And one of my favorite commentators, and I've just finished reading his book, is our advocate Mbeka. He makes it very clear what is wrong in the system. And if we as government can just follow what the learned advocate is advising us, I think we will make great progress in this country.
Vanessa, we're out of time. Appreciate you, and thank you very much for coming through tonight and staying up late with us tonight. I know it's way past your time to go to rest. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for coming through. Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure and leader of the good party there, Patricia De Lille.